Okay, today's lesson is on 10.2, which is multiplication using exponents. So what we're going to look at today is the product property rule. All right, so these are the exponent laws we're going to be covering. If we look here, today is the product law that we're going to be looking at, or the product rule. Some of the ones that we've already covered include, for example, the zero exponent rule. Anything to the power of 0 is equal to 1. We've covered the negative exponent rule. If you have a negative exponent, we took the reciprocal of the base. These two here, this one here, we know that if there are brackets around the base, we know that the exponent is being applied to everything inside the brackets. That's what's kind of shown in these two here. All right, but let's focus on the product law today. So multiplication with exponents can be done using the product property rule when we have bases that are the exact same. As shown here, we have a base of x multiplied a base of x. The exponent here is a, the exponent here is b. So anytime we have two exponential functions with the same base, all we're going to do is add the exponents. So what we can see here, we had x to the power of a multiplied by x to the power of b. That becomes x to the power of a plus b. All right, so let's take a look at our first example here. We have 5 to the power of 3 multiplied by 5 to the power of 4. All right, so because we have the bases are the exact same, the base is 5 here and the base is 5 here as well, we're simply going to add the exponents. So this becomes 5 to the power of 3 plus 4, which becomes 5 to the power of 7. All right, now it depends on the question. Some of the questions will say leave your answers in exponential form. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to leave the answer in exponential form here as 5 to the power of 7. But if you were to put it into your calculator, 5 to the power of 7 is equal to 78,125. I'll just put that here in brackets, 78,125. I just put that in my calculator, but we're leaving it in exponential form. All right, let's look at our second example here. So again, we have a base of y, the base is y, the base is y. So because the bases are the same, we can add the exponents, also because the bases, they're being multiplied together. Those dots here represent multiplication. All right, so our base stays the same, our base is still y, and we're going to add our exponents. So it becomes 7 plus 5 plus 3, which becomes y to the power of 15. Okay, so our next example here, we have a base of 4x squared. That's 4x squared, and this is a base of 4x squared as well. So in this case, we have to the power of 3 and to the power of 6. So we'll keep our base as 4x squared. And we're going to add those exponents, which was 3 plus 6. All right, so that becomes 4x squared to the power of 9. Now this can be further simplified, but because we're just learning the product law today, we're going to leave this as is. So 4x squared to the power of 9. Okay, so our next example here, we have x to the power of 5 multiplied by y to the power of 3. All right, so again, make sure you've checked your bases. They do have to be the same. Here our base is x and then our base is y. So we cannot do anything further. So we can just write this out as x to the power of 5, y to the power of 3. All right, so again, we cannot simplify this further because the bases are different. This is a base of x, this is a base of y. So we cannot simplify any further. We're just going to leave it as is. All right, here we have 5x to the power of 3 and multiplied by 5x to the power of 4. So what we can do here, we know that there's 5, it's basically 5 to the power of 1 and 5 to the power of 1. So this becomes 5 to the power of 1 plus 1, which will become 5 squared. And then our x will become 3 plus 4. X to the power of 3 plus 4. All right, so that further simplifying that becomes 5 squared and then x to the power of 7. All right, so our first example on this slide, we have x to the power of 3 multiplied by x to the power of 2 multiplied by x to the power of 3. So all our bases here are the exact same. So we're going to keep our base the same, and we can add our exponents. So 3 plus 2 plus 3, which gives me x to the power of 8. All right, let's try the next one here. 9. This one here, if I can get my mouse there. All right, so with this example here, we have a base of 9, 9, and 9. So they are all being multiplied together. So again, we are simply going to add our exponents. So 2 plus 3 plus 5, which gives me 9 to the power of 10. All right, and we're going to leave the answer as is because the question does tell us to leave our answers in exponential form. But if you were to put this into your calculator, 9 to the power of 10, we would get a huge, huge number. All right, so let's take a look at this next example. So we have x squared y and x squared y there as well. So our base for both questions are x squared y, x squared y. So again, they are being multiplied together, so we can add our exponents. So I'll let you guys try that. Okay, so with this one here, our base is x squared y for both of them. So because we're just looking at the product law today, we could just leave our base as x squared y, and then add our exponents, which is 4 plus 5. All right, and that leaves me with x squared y to the power of 9. All right, so we could leave it here for what we've learned so far with just the product law. Now, if we were to simplify this much further, there is another law we're going to learn about. It's called the power of a power law, but I'm not going to show that because we haven't learned that yet. But if we were to write this out fully expanded, we have to remember that the x squared y here is to the power of 4. So if we were to expand this out, it would look like this. X squared times x squared times x squared times x squared. I've written out 4 times. Then the y would also be written out 4 times. Y, 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 y. All right. And then we have the x squared y here 5 times. So this is going to become really long, but I would fully write this out as well. So x squared 5 times, and then the y 5 times as well. All right, now it's fully written out. I've expanded it all. Now if we were to further simplify, we would add all of our bases that have x. So we would end up with 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, and then plus all of these ones as well. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So that would become x to the power of 18. And then y, we would count all our y's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so because we've just learned the product law, you could have left your answer like this, but fully simplified, it would look like this. All right, so for our last example here, we've got x, y, z, and then we have x squared, y squared, z cubed. They are all being multiplied together. So we're going to take our x. Just remember that's x to the power of 1, it's y to the power of 1, z to the power of 1. So it becomes x to the power of 1 plus 2. The y is to the power of 1 plus 2, and the z is to the power of 1 plus 3. All right, so I have to collect the bases separately. The bases have to be the same, so I have to collect x together, the y together, and then the z together. All right, so that gives me x to the power of 3, y to the power of 3, and z to the power of 4. So for the first example here, check your bases. This is a base of negative z. This is a base of z. So we really can't simplify this any further. So it would be just the exact same. So you could just write it out the exact same. I mean, we can't do anything more here. So it just stays the exact same. And that's a z. All right, here we have a base of x, x, and x all being multiplied together. So therefore we can collect the exponents. We can add the exponents. So that becomes negative 5 plus negative 3 plus negative 4. All right, that gives me x to the power of negative 12. For this one here, we have two different bases. We have a base of y, and we have a base of x. So that means we have to collect them separately. All right, so the y, or let's do the x first, so it's alphabetical. So x is 3 plus 4. And then for the y, we have 3 plus 2. All right, so that becomes x to the power of 7, y to the power of